What is up, ladies and gents? Well, I would do a video today talking about the inghams vaults. Now, one thing I think a lot of people would agree on is that Chris needs to be a lot more careful when he's editing the vaults, because it seems like a lot of things, tend to get overturned, or he doesn't notice certain things, and they seem to have that tendency to leave certain things in accidentally that maybe shouldn't be in the vaults. And I say accidentally because I think if it was the first time, if they'd only left something in a vault accidentally once, once I would say it was accidental. But I think it's gotten to the point where it's become very clear that Chris leaves certain things in the vaults intentionally because he knows that people will pull them out for it. It's like the whole infamous Isla ruining clip incident from several months ago. I mean, obviously people are still talking about that. That's a moment that is never going to be forgotten. It's a moment that people are going to be talking about for a long time. And for good reason. Because it was such a huge moment. It was like the moment that we got to see the real Sarah Ingham. It was like we got to see a glimpse of what Sarah Ingham was really like, or could be, or how she could really be, or what she could really be like sometimes. It was something that we very rarely get to see. And that moment was left in there, and I think that was left in the vlog intentionally. I don't think there was anything accidental about that being left in the vlog. I think they left that in the vlog because they knew that people would comment on it. I can't imagine Sarah was too happy with Chris about leaving that in the vaults. Obviously yesterday's vlog was being talked about. People had noticed that they left a part in the vlog where Mila kind of lifted up her knickers or whatever it was that she lifted up. Obviously they blurred that out, but they probably should have taken the vlog down and removed that, because that's what they normally do. When something gets left in the vaults that are not supposed to be in it, they take the vlogs down, they remove that that part out of the vlog, and then they re-upload it. The problem is here with this is, so many people have probably already screenshotted it, and there's probably a lot of perverts out there that have probably screenshotted that, so then blurring it out won't do much to it, won't do any difference, it won't do any good. You can clearly see that when Chris is editing the vlogs, he's not doing a thorough check to make sure that there isn't anything in the vlogs that probably isn't supposed to be in them before he actually uploads them. And that's what he needs to do. He needs to do a thorough check before he uploads the vlogs to make sure that he's not showing anything that maybe shouldn't be shown in the vlogs, like that part in the vlog yesterday with obviously Mila lifting up her knickers or whatever it was she lifted up. If he'd actually checked that vlog properly and edited that probably wouldn't have been left in the vlogs. But then you kind of have to ask that question of, did Chris leave that in intentionally? Did Chris leave that in the vlog on purpose because he knew that people would see it and he knew that people would comment on it? And it's funny how many times they say they don't retell. As people were mentioning this on Twitter yesterday, the whole that they shown the part where Mila had lifted up her underwear or whatever it was, and then they blurred that out. Not really, a bit of a coincidence there, isn't it? Really. I mean, as I said, I'm not trying to disrespect them or anything. What I'm saying is they need to be checking the vlogs more thoroughly. They need to be making they need to be doing a thorough check to make sure that certain things are not being left in the vlogs that probably shouldn't be in them. We all know that Chris probably doesn't check the vlogs very thoroughly. He probably doesn't, make sure. He probably, a lot of the time he's probably forgetting to make sure. It seems that he's forgetting to make sure that there was nothing being left in the vaults that is probably not supposed to be seen. You know, this isn't the first time, as I said, this is not the first time that something has been left in the vlogs that probably shouldn't have been in the vlog in the first place. You know, which is why I'm in two minds about whether it is purely accidental, because obviously this isn't the first time, you know, they've made a mistake like this. And I just, you know, and as I said, now I'm starting to wonder whether these mistakes that are being made by Chris are actually purely intentional, and he's actually doing it, and I'm actually starting to wonder whether he's doing things like this deliberately, leaving things like that in the vaults because he knows people will comment on it, he knows that people will call them out for it. You know, they're not stupid. You know, I think that, you know, I wouldn't mind betting they probably are doing it, leaving things like that in the vaults intentionally, because they know that people will comment on it. You know, that's what they want. They want people to see these things and comment on it. That's why Chris left that part in the vlog, in that vlog the other month, several months ago, when Sarah yelled at Isla, because he knew that people would comment on that. He wanted people to comment on that, you know, and basically haul Sarah out for the way that she'd spoken to Isla in that clip. You know, she knew that a lot of people would, you know, she knew that he knew that would stand out more than anything else in that vlog, the fact that Sarah had yelled at Isla. But if you watch it, she kind of corrects herself. If she goes to say Jace, and if she says Isla, she's like, Jay, Isla, you're ruining my clip. You know, which is quite funny if you think, you know, she goes to say Jace, and if she kind of corrects herself and says Isla, you're ruining my clip. So it's like, Jay, Isla, you're ruining my clip. You know, it was like another one of her TikTok videos a couple of months ago. She actually uploaded a TikTok video of her kind of snapping at Jace a little bit, because he was being quite loud. She was like, Jace, stop, or whatever it was. And what was funny was that she actually removed that TikTok video. And I remember at the time, obviously, with the whole you're ruining that hip thing, so many of the iFan were jumping in and saying it was just banter, you know, Sarah wasn't being nasty or anything like that. And the truth of the matter is, if that was just banter, they wouldn't have removed it from the vlog. But I think the whole reason they removed it from the vlog was because it wasn't actually banter, and it wasn't something that people were actually supposed to see. You know, people weren't actually supposed to see that hit of Sarah, you know, basically shouting at Isla for ruining her hip. You know, that's not a moment that people were actually supposed to see. But obviously it's a moment that people did get to see, and has become one of the most infamous moments of this year, in fact. You know, it's one of those moments that kind of stood out this year, is that clip, you know, because that we all know that was Sarah Ingham at her very worst. You know, and that was them showing us a glimpse of what Sarah's actually really like, you know, and what she can be like sometimes. You know, I've often said I feel sorry for those kids, because when their parents are filming or they're talking to the camera, the kids must be literally treading on eggshells around them. They must be so frightened of making a sound, you know, in case they get yelled at by Sarah or get yelled at by Chris, you know, for making a racket when they're trying to speak to to the camera, or speak to the, to the iFam, etc., etc. You know, like, it's just crazy the amount of things, when I think about the amount of things that have been left in the vlogs that probably shouldn't have been left in them, because Chris is not being careful when he's editing the vlogs, and, you know, this is why these mistakes are being made. But as I said, I do honestly believe that these mistakes are purely intentional, and that Chris is doing these things intentionally because he knows that they will get a reaction from that. He's not stupid. You know, he knows that these things will get a reaction, which is why he leaves these things in the vlogs. But at least people are actually called him out for the fact they've left that part in the vlogs where obviously Rita was kind of, you know, holding up a, kind of, lifting up her underwear or whatever it was. You know, it was just not something you want to see. But it's something that the perverts online will screenshot. You know, it's funny, because I actually posted a comment on TikTok today, and I actually said, to the end of the time, on Sarah and TikTok, and I actually posted a comment on this. And I'd love to see them answer this question. I'd love to, and I think to myself, like, how do they sleep at night? I said, how do you sleep at night knowing that your hits are out there online for the whole world to see? Knowing that anyone can access footage of that hits, footage of your hits. And then I also say, how do you know for definite that there aren't any creeps or pedos or whatever watching videos of your hits every day? Because they don't know that for definite, do they? This is one of my many gripes with family vloggers is, not just Sarah in general, but most of the family vloggers is they don't stop to realise who'd be watching videos of their hits every day. And the fact that it would be perverts watching it hits. It's no lie. I think a lot of people would see that, know that that's true. But yeah, it's just madness. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of do that short video talking about this. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in another one soon. Bye bye.